This one is called Who Am I to Save You? If it wasn't truly normal, hearing voices out of nowhere, if I wouldn't catch you falling, ending fate of broken promise, if I didn't know my calling, death would seize your fragile aura. You are seeking for true justice, for the strength from real passion, dreaming of discovering the eyes you will allow yourself to fall in love with, mutually, brazenly, unconditionally, always striving, never reaching, begging heavens for the answer, as your hope consumed with tragic, almost lost and lost compassion, yet still breathing like an essence, full of lucid insouciance shielded from above. Soon in front, exhausting challenge, worn of tired and in shambles, grieving hard from tribulations, tried for treason and temptations, judged for dream to find the magic, shocked to hear the hint from heaven. If you don't accept what's in you, seeing cracks as your true glory, feeling worthy of ambitions while assuming every turning, then heart love will turn destructive, even if divine and honest, blocked from shining in its wholeness. Never reaching the full fondness, making world around pointless, washed out, fleeting, never present, tiny, painful, stripped of presence, crumbling fast and bearing presence, never gifting true embracement. If all men are flawed and dreadful, carried only by temptation, superficial, selfish egos, inept facing purest lady, reaching only for the panties, never open, condescending, only taking, never giving, with amusement, yet abusing, seeing toy, but not the human. Always sharing their advantage, playing games without attachments, thrilled with less pretentious feelings, just another archetype. Passing issues, passing weakness, so aroused and so impatient, switched of heart, removed from being, they implant you with their demons. Spiders crawl to fill your psyche while you stare into the vastness and dissolving in the mirror of your devastated dreams. No salvation, true resentment, empty moment contemplation. Through detachment you escape. Soul is gone as it's tormented and unable to confront complex pain, intense emotions, filling body with contempt as reality descends into struggle of existence with no purpose to transcend. That's how troubled all my visions, flood of filth and repetitions, bedroom losing truthful magic. In the madness, through obsession, no one's guilty, witness treasure, pouring love with no pretensions, while when honestly intentions all night long alone neglected, closed away in void of sorrow under sheets, insanely crying, trapped alone inside the darkness, it would never disappear. From ourselves we may be hiding, fighting trouble, struck by lightning, that's the truth of what is in you. All these conflicts might just kill you. On the quest to true collision, captivated by desire, you talk only to the mirror, but not ever to yourself. Overwhelmed with true rebellious excitement, unable to distinguish reality from fantasy, pretending to comprehend the feelings, entangled in a web of lies, so scared of not conforming, conceding to abuse, abandoning affection, recklessly in ecstasy, immersing into the pure misery, possessed by play repugnance, delightfully embracing the twisted joy of this disturbing journey. As we boast to roads less traveled, I witnessed how you dared to step into the reality beyond accustomed comprehension while the storm invaded your soul. I saw how you crossed the bridge into the forbidden land, escaping your protective garden. But I also saw how adamant you are in pushing me away. So who am I to try to save you?
I'd like to share two short poems, and they're about literary notables. The first one is about D.H. Lawrence, and the title is An Aggressive Homage to D.H. Lawrence. Ever mindful of your compact fineness, you aim for age and station with success. From your miner's son's throne, you bellowed to be followed, first into the depths and then to New Mexico. Both plate thrower and floor scrubber, domesticity was always your fullness and your flame. As long as Puritan and modern met within you, there was art and happiness. So I hope some of you recognize some of those details about the Lawrence biography. My second poem about literary notables is about two of the giants in 19th century Russian literature. And it answers the mystery of why Tolstoy and Dostoevsky never met. I also want to mention that one of the very well-known major novels was called The Idiot, and I mention it because it's going to appear in my poem. So the title is Dostoevsky and Tolstoy Never Met. Land and faith contemporaries, brothers from another mother, How come they never met? Was it dueling ideas of free will? One, a boy of military barracks, became all about the vertical, the abyss above, the abyss below, and the resounding personal moment. The other, a farm child and later a veteran of the Crimean War, saw the horizontals of troops and crops left and right far into the distance. T survived D by 20 years, and upon hearing of his death, wrote appreciatively of the idiot and regretted the missed opportunity. T was likely burdened by D's pilgrim's progress to complexity, where inklings of the unknown threaten his stretch to nobility.
Since today is St. Patrick's Day, I chose a poem about Ireland, and it's actually a true story of my great-grandfather that I stumbled across in doing some research. I knew some of the family history, so I knew when I found this that it was the story of his life, which I didn't know. It's called Gross Isle. Inside the hovel, if you can call it that, more like a hole in the ground, the nightmare of crying returns, the crying of a 9-year-old McCabe boy, whose parents, Michael and Mary, my parents, are leaving with my younger brother and sister, William and Mary, leaving me behind with relatives as they sail for Canada in 1820. Were they too poor to pay for my passage? I have had this nightmare of crying for 27 years. Now, outside the hovel, there is more crying. No, wailing, wailing for the dead. No need to look. It happens every day. If they knock, what should I do? I can't even feed my own family. If I take them in, the soldiers come and tear the roof off our hovel too, leaving us homeless on the road. We cannot read or write, but I can see the pictures of the Irish drawn as monkeys in the English newspaper. We live in a land where half the people are dead or leaving. No longer the 3 months of continuous hunger between the last of one potato crop and the harvest of the next that occurred every year, but of never-ending hunger. Wagon trains of wheat, oats, cattle, sheep, swine, guarded by up to 60 soldiers, headed for the ports to England and the army in India, enough to feed everyone. I can choose between the workhouse or passage to Canada, or on one of the broken down coffin ships, where the death rate is 12 times normal. Those who pick the workhouse die faster than those who starve, for their weakened bodies are forced to work 12 hours a day and live in a dingy room with hundreds of others starving, filthy, diseased people. I take the landlord's coffin ship offer, parting Ireland with my wife and youngest child, 2-year-old Alice, leaving the other 5 behind with relatives in case, like so many others, we don't make it. For I do not want everyone dying at the same time on the voyage. We will send for the others if we can. We board the Superior of the J&J Cook Line, overloaded with 360 starving sick passengers and overinsured, for the ship is worth more if we sink than if we make it. Crammed into every filthy corner of this lumber cargo ship, none of the promised food, water, or clothing. Only what we scrounge before leaving. Typhus, typhoid, cholera take their daily toll. The sharks follow the Superior, waiting for the daily burials. 61 of the Superior's 360 passengers don't make it. But we are all sick now as we arrive at Gross Isle Quarantine Station in the Gulf of the St. Lawrence. They are quarantining us. It's no surprise. But there's food and water here, and priests and sisters and doctors who nurse us, who voluntarily came, who give the dead a proper funeral every day that they can avoid putting them in a mass grave because too many died that day, who live and died and are buried with us. Who are these strange people who speak a strange language, whose Archbishop Signet of Quebec sends out a letter to parishioners to adopt the 1,500 orphans of Grosse Isle. And when 3 orphans ask him if they can keep their Irish names, sends another letter telling parishioners to do so for all the orphans. God bless them. God bless this land. Unbelievable news. Not only does the doctor say we are clear of disease and free to go, but the priest, who has written to ask the church to inquire in all parishes about my parents, he says they found my parents, who I have not seen in 27 years. They are living on a farm in Lanark County in Upper Canada. We can go there. But the government has no money for travel. So are we given £2 from those who died on Grosse Isle to make it there? The doctor told us that of the 8,691 quarantined on Grosse Isle this year, 5,500 did not make it. I wish I did not have to take the money. 19 years later, and I'm thinking how much things have changed. We got our other 5 children over from Ireland. Although 2 have since died, I've moved in next to my parents on my own farm. And on the other side are Michael and Mary Murphy, who understand us perfectly because they, like us, came in 1847. They can raise and feed their 14 children like us. I'm not much of a farmer, but even on a poor farm where the land is not that good, I can feed my own. Today is a special day, for our daughter Alice is marrying their boy Richard. And although Mom has passed away, Dad will be at the wedding.
Who is outside my door? Part 1. Between thunder and lightning, silence. Between sleeping and dreaming, revelations. Between living and dying, suffering. Where there is pain, death just came calling. What is outside my door? Part 2. You touch once more your heart. Now you can embrace it. That which you once cried upon and struggled to be free of. You touch once more the earth. Now you can walk on it. That which you once called home and tried so hard to be part of. You came upon the stones. Now you can collect them. Each stone holds a memory. Each memory leads to a place where you feel safe, where you can stand and bow to your ancestors, asking for permission to remove tribal scars from your face. The rising sun never seems so brilliant. The child's smile never seems so divine. You have walked a long, long way and stood naked under the stars. You have gathered your memories in one breath. Your tears have turned to jewels. Eons of Earth's experience has now been distilled into a drop of light. Between tears and laughter, a smile. Between joy and sorrow, forgiveness. Between yesterday and today, a story. So much time left to live. So many reasons for hope. Now you can look at the tattooed contours of your body and read pages of a hero story. All the rivers flow back to the sea. You touch once more your heart. It is time now to reveal your true identity, your true self, where life begins. I looked death in the eye and said, stay outside my door. Nobody dies today.
This is a poem that relates to the COVID-19 situation, and it's not something I do very often, ground something like this in a subject that is part of current controversy, but it's such a compelling situation that I've broken from that tradition. It's called Call and Response. 1938. The timestamp of a generation lost even to memory for all but a few. And of those, so many wasting in the unforgiving present, unwatered, unfed, feigning gratitude in soiled beds. Among them lies Dennis Gaunt. Might just as well be Dr. Bird, the ornithologist, or Dr. Anks, the psychiatrist. At 79 pounds, he's all bones and almost dead. In 1938, he was 16, ran the hurdles like lightning, had his first kiss and more, weighed 124. A tall drink of water, they said of this big-boned, brown-eyed boy. What he wouldn't give for a drink of water now. Last week, the virus, well, they'll say it's the virus, hauled down the 3 parked nearest him like tattered flags. Elmer, Jack Jr., and Roy. In the window and on the iPad propped against his bed table, he thinks he can make out his daughter. No one has had time to switch on the sound or fetch his glasses up off the floor, or empty his bedpan, or change his catheter, now starting to chafe so painfully with nothing to drain. Hurried feet rush past, always past the half-open door. And the lights overhead stay on most nights. Who has time to check on things like that? There are gurneys to wheel to the loading bay where the van's back in. Reverse alarms tolling, tolling. It's a sound the sentient ones have come to know. Another bed now freed, another bedpan off the night shift checklist, one more call to next of kin. He wants to think they mean well, when he can think at all. They're run off their feet, 2 to a for-profit ward of 42. But foolish to take this work, surely, certain to fail. Parched, bladder shriveling like a dried fig, everything a blur without his specs, sprinter Dennis Gaunt hasn't the strength to reach for the call button that dangles unplugged from his bed rail.
Dark streets, and the snug looks closed. But then we hear laughter and the roar of song fueled by Guinness. We knock at the window. It's long past midnight, but the door swings open. A young barkeep beckons us in. Beer and whiskey, guitars and penny whistles. Where are you from then? Slurs a drunk. Where are you from? The local hero is holding court. His strong, sweet Irish tenor, town of Rostrevor, the dear best ever. Belfast simmers in my jet-lagged mind. Murals, icons, threats, swagger in black. History is a stone in the belly. The Irish pub is in session. Mandolin, banjo, hand drum, melodies we all know, should know. 3 women represent the younger generation. Merle Haggard, yells one, Bruce Springsteen. The redhead does a rap softened by her Irish lilt. Old tunes again, 4/4, 3/4, broken signatures. All together now, this is your night, take it back. History is butter on the tongue. Teach it to the children, says the local hero, keep it alive. We will be lost without it. Islands, squalls, ancient ruins, farewells. One more Guinness. A Canadian tune, she yells, and 4 strong winds take us home. Sad and solitary, history has walked by and is waiting. We're leaving, needing a bed. Goodbye to history. Night will echo the green, the Irish march, the guns and roses of Belfast. A snug and a story, a pint and a tune, a threat and a gentle heart.
The poem's waiting to be heard. I wonder, in the face of trauma, in the face of life-changing event, what is next? What call will I heed? What doorbell will I answer? What sound will make me jump? It is time to open up. It is time to bare my soul and uncover the mysteries of life. This is what enthralls me. This is what leads me to love my soul. It is time to see what's on the other side. Why do I love? Why do I fear? What are my dreams? How do I realize them? Why is there death, destruction, and violence? What happened to human decency? What happened to empathy? These are the questions for our time. These are the perplexities of life. These are the thoughts waiting for an echo. These are the poems waiting to be heard.
Elegy for a Secret Commuter. Still, warm, I held her in my hands. The fleas fled her base brown, white-breasted body. I flicked them and wished her this unfamiliar relation, hated by human hordes, a best feast for the journey. Beyond the picnics in the park, I twirled her fur, hurriedly lush, a goddess's shush, and saw her nipples dormant, assuaged myself, no babies needing. Placed her in a bush, sat on a rock there until near dark. Why? I got a flashlight from my decrepit, slaughterous Karr and held it, while with the other hand, lightly, I touched her face. Cold, the last streak of day fell to his knees. That was a poem about roadkill and realizing that, you know, there's a being there and a life. And this is a haiku. And this is for my friend Cheryl. I stretch my arms to reach the juicy blackberries and worship their stain.
Just over a week ago was International Women's Day, and 4 years ago there was a protest against the inauguration of Donald Trump. So I wrote this poem in solidarity with the women, and it's called Eye Candy, and it's in my book, A Worker's Friend. Gender is on the agenda as it has been for generations. Born again in subordination to the male ordered bride, groomed in the rearing of infantile disorders for good housekeeping, feeding the system, cleaning the slate. How sweet the eye candy, sugar-coated labor, employed to serve and be fondled by fathers superior and Big Macs, such charity, capital investment for such a small fee for females. The company that keep cares little about little ones. Reproductive rights are aborted. Domesticated with violence, implanted with rape seeds, seeds to the patriarch in God's image. Under the glass ceiling, cracks appear, shattering the rules, changing men as women rise like bread and flower like roses.
One is called Russian roulette. Russian roulette wimps think 1 bullet in 6 chambers is plenty. My tough, though fewer friends, played with 1 chamber empty. Okay, that's a joke. The second one is more Irish, called Nuptials and Funerals. Nuptial masses and funerals were alike for us altar boys in those days. Most notably, both were ceremonies from which we received money. Puzzling to an 8-year-old that the loot was nearly always larger from those marrying than from those dead. After all, The newlyweds were scrimping every penny for rent or sofas and a telly. But what need had the dead for cash? And you'd think the dead would be more concerned to pay for energetic prayers to speed them their ascent to heaven or escape from the other place. But maybe those brides and grooms saw their paradise close at hand, and a few extra coins to altar boys sprinkled their joy around. Both were also alike in their splendor. The flash clothing of the nervous couple and the tropical fruit-colored bridesmaids, better dressed than anyone in our family. The coffins polished wood and gleaming brass, more expensive than anything we owned. Routine ceremonies for priests and altar boys, designed to deal with breaks in life's routines. Our practiced movements lead the awkward, hesitant participants through this dramatic hour they will remember, easing them through a social rupture, smoothing cracks in their time.
This is called The Various Harvests of Less M. Imagine being so prepared to pass from this life in a private in-hospital ceremony that chief amongst your remaining regrets is that you won't live deep enough into the summer to enjoy one last toasted tomato sandwich, the kind with butter, cracked pepper, and sharp cheddar, the kind you have to wash the fields of Essex County from first. My friend Les is being held in the air by God, who is afraid to let him touch the ground should he become too powerful. The cancer metastasized into the rock of his hip, so primed to burst for this gentle Antaeus, reduced in size to the point where he wonders, when he comes back, will it be as a pack of chihuahuas? And in that absurd cloud, I recede through the gauze of the privacy curtain, the fabric and the folds surprisingly forever, and arrive in a Wellington Road motel room a night in the previous spring, where I didn't yet anticipate falling to my knees amidst a gleeful pack, should I ever be surrounded by one, and I am calling home in the wee hours to say it is happening now, probably, and I don't know what I will find at the hospital when I return in the morning, but I think I had better stay to greet the train. We raced through the night so his living liver could be swapped clean out for one harvested from a corpse, which we didn't discuss en route, that someone was dead. It was a race after all, choosing instead to talk about faith and there being no such thing as coincidence, which is why I am here, which is why I know it's a 21-year-old, a cardiac death, a history of drugs, but no disease or history of travel, that it was in a state of non-perfusion at harvest and palpated by hand, while they studied the hologram of his failing organ, sounding the mouths of rivers and mapping passage for vessels. And as they read through the rushed list of consents over his ward bed, his eyes search out mine through the scrub print and papers, where I sit near his feet, and I close my eyes and nod in assent. Even the risks pale against refusal, and he says okay. It's a coin toss whether he ever finds out the result. And when he steps out of his clothes in silhouette against the dark cityscape of the windows, I am modest with his nakedness. It hardly matters now, Bob, his laugh booming in the susurrations and soft beepings of the ward in the wee hours, where he is sitting up, an outsized boy on the gurney, ticking off boxes on a clipboard, seconds from being wheeled into a blood-red blackout. Second-hand roses, Bob, they're less prideful. They know what they're doing the second time around. And he sings, that's why they call me Second-Hand Rose. We pray, and they wheel him singing through the swinging door. And I am left standing with a plastic bag of his clothes and a manila envelope I'll hand to his daughter when she gets off the train. And then the appointed hour.